Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to finish off Siddhartha. This is the chapter 8 of Siddhartha. This is the fourth video of chapter 8. This is RJK English. Come and visit. And I want to hear what you have to say about Siddhartha, okay? I want to have that conversation. You can also ask me about grammar. Ask me about anything. I'll answer you, okay? Just do me one favor, like and subscribe. This really helps me out. All right. So Govinda has now left Siddhartha. Smiling, Siddhartha watched him go. He still loved him, this faithful, anxious friend. Who is the faithful and anxious friend? Govinda, right? And at that moment, in that splendid hour, after his wonderful sleep, permeated with Om, these are all the things that he is. After that moment, what is that moment? In the splendid hour, after his wonderful sleep, permeated by Om. To permeate, when we put a tea bag in water, the tea permeates the water. Or if I put salt in water, it permeates the water. He's permeated by Om. How could he help but love someone? How could he help but love someone in something? That was just the magic that had happened to him during his sleep, and the Om in him. He loved everything. He was full of joyous love towards everything he saw. And it seemed to him that was just why he was previously so ill, because he could love nothing and nobody. Now the question is, does he really love? What does love mean? Okay, now he says, before he couldn't love. We saw that. He couldn't love anybody. He kind of loved Kamala. He's kind of loved Govinda. He's kind of loved his father. But what did he do with his father? He left him. Has he ever gone back to his father? No. Is that a good son? I don't think so. He never went back to his friend. There's something to this. Maybe that is life. We shouldn't. I've lived my life that way in a lot of ways. Did I ever go back to my hometown of Des Moines? No. In some ways we leave. But in a way, there's something wrong with Siddhartha. Now he loves everybody, right? But what does it mean to love everybody versus love an individual? It's a little bit different, right? Okay, with a smile, Siddhartha watched the departing monk. Who is that? That's Govinda. His sleep had strengthened him, but he suffered great hunger, for he had not eaten for 2 days. And the time was long past when he could ward off hunger. Troubled, yet also with laughter, he recalled that time. That time. He remembered that at that time he had boasted of three things to Kamala. Three noble and invincible arts: fasting, waiting, thinking. Remember? These were his possessions, his power and strength, his firm staff. He had learned these arts and nothing else during the diligent, assiduous years of his youth. Now he had lost them. He possessed none of them anymore, neither fasting nor waiting nor thinking. He didn't have any of these. He lost them all when he became a rich man. He had exchanged them for the most wretched things, for the transitory, for the pleasures of the senses, for high living and riches. So in this book, being rich is not good. Or at least it's transitory and it's not really worth anything. That's the theme of this book. You have to decide what you think, but at least let's take on the theme and let's think about it. He had gone along a strange path, the journey, and now it seemed that he had indeed become an ordinary person. An ordinary person. Before he had been special, according to his mind. Now he was an ordinary person. Siddhartha reflected on his state. He found it difficult to think. He really had no desire to, but he forced himself. Now he thought that all these transitory things have slipped away from me again. I stand once more beneath the sun, as I stood as a small child. Nothing is mine. I know nothing. I possess nothing. I have learned nothing. How strange it is. Now, when I am no longer young, when my hair is fast growing gray, so he's getting to his later 40s, when strength begins to diminish, now I am beginning again like a child. He had to smile again. Yes, his destiny was strange. That is, I'm sorry, I almost cursed. That is the frickin' truth. Life is strange, and the journey is strange. He was going backwards, and now he again stood empty and naked and ignorant in the world. But he did not grieve about it. No, he even felt a great desire to laugh at himself, to laugh at this strange, foolish world. And that is the truth. This world is strange and foolish. Things are going backward with you. Things are going backwards with you, he said to himself and laughed. As he said it, his glance lighted on the river. Lighted mean it landed on the river. It alighted on the river. And he saw the river also flowing continually backwards, singing merrily. That pleased him immensely. He smiled cheerfully at the river. Was this not the river in which he had once wished to drown himself hundreds of years ago? Or had he dreamt it? Why is a river significant? Do you remember his time with the ferryman? The ferryman said he had learned a lot from the river, right? What is a river? So in Greek philosophy, there's a significant idea of the river. The river is ever flowing, right? But it's still a river. Water is going past all the time, and yet it's still a river. The atoms of the water are constantly going past, and individual atoms, and yet the river is still a river. How is that possible? The river is a thing, and yet it is changing all the time. A river is a mirror. I'm saying this figuratively. It's a mirror of what our life is and what the world is. The world is constantly changing. It's an illusion to think it's the same. It's constantly changing. The question is there anything that stays the same while it's changing? That leads us back to the self. We are changing all the time. Is there anything that remains the same? The question is, are we real? Are we real? We are also like a river, constantly changing. Literally our atoms are, our skin is coming out and it's falling off, and then we get new skin. Our hair falls out, we get new hair. Our teeth fall out and we get new teeth, at some point in our lives. We're constantly changing. And yet, are we the same? That's the question. So that's what's significant about the river here. How strange his life had been, he thought. He wandered along strange paths. As a boy, I was occupied with, he switches from he to talking about I. Third person, he. He did this, he did this, he did this. And now he's talking about I. As a boy, I was occupied with the gods and sacrifices. As a youth, with asceticism when he was a samana, and thinking and meditation. I was in search of Brahman, and I revered the eternal in Atman. As a young man, I was attracted to expiation, getting rid of things. I lived in the woods. I suffered heat and cold. I learned to fast, to not eat. I learned to conquer my body. And I then discovered with wonder the teachings of the great Buddha. I felt knowledge and the unity of the world circulate in me like my own blood. But I also felt compelled to leave the Buddha and the great knowledge. How strange, right? I went and learned the pleasures of love from Kamala and the business from Kamaswami. How could you leave the Buddha, and according to Buddhism, how could you leave the Buddha and then go have sex without being married to? And there's no, often think of that as like the moral thing. And he's drinking and he's becoming a merchant. How strange, right? But he still feels like it was the right thing to do in a certain way. Okay, going back. I hoarded money. I squandered money. squandered, remember, to waste it. I acquired a taste for rich food. I learned to stimulate my senses. I had to spend many years like that in order to lose my intelligence, to lose my power to think, to forget about the unity of things. In a way, he was trying to destroy himself. He's always tried to destroy himself. That's quite significant, isn't it? We have to think about why. We don't have to be like him. We just have to figure out why. He's always tried to destroy himself. In a way, he said, what did he say about himself? He was jealous of people that were normal, right? Something to think about. Is it not true that slowly and through many deviations, I changed from a man into a child, from a thinker into an ordinary person? And yet this path has been good, and the bird in my breast has not died. Literally, the bird didn't die. The bird he was compared to, Kamala let it go. But the bird in his breast, that songbird, has not died. But what a path it has been. I have had to experience so much stupidity, so many vices, so much error, so much nausea, disillusionment, and sorrow, just in order to become a child again and begin anew. But it was right that it should be so. My eyes and heart acclaim it. I had to experience despair. I had to means I must. I had to. This means I must. I had to experience despair. I had to sink to the greatest mental depths, to thoughts of suicide, in order to experience grace, to hear Om again and sleep deeply again, to awaken refreshed again. And I'm going to stop and point out Hermann Hesse is German. They are Protestants. And this is Protestant Christian language. Protestants are different from Catholics. And they are I am from Protestant background. We Protestants are very much into grace, meaning conversion to Jesus. Not that we have Jesus when we're born, but that we choose the path of Jesus later on in our lives. And so we sin and we do bad, and then we realize Jesus' grace, that he forgives us. This language has come into his idea of the Buddha. Okay? So again, we have to think about, is this true to the idea of the Buddha? Or is this Hermann Hesse's view of what the Buddha is? Okay? Just putting that in there. I had to sin in order to live again. Whither, that means whether. Where, sorry, it means where in this. Whither will my path yet lead me? Where will it lead me now? This path is stupid. It goes in spirals. Remember, here's our thing of the wheel again, but now in a different way, in a spiral. This path is stupid. It goes in spirals, perhaps in circles, but whichever way it goes, I will follow it. At the end of this, I will give you a bonus, which is another German poem that involves spirals. Okay? And you don't have to stay if you don't want to at the end of this. Okay? He was aware of a great happiness mounting within him, growing. Where does it come from? He asked himself. What is the reason for this feeling of happiness? Does it arise from my good long sleep, which has done me so much good? Or from the word Om, which I pronounced? Or because I have run away? Because my flight is accomplished? Because I am at last free again to stand like a child beneath the sky? Ah, how good this flight has been, this liberation. Enlightenment is liberation. He's going towards enlightenment. In the place from which I escaped, there was always an atmosphere of pomade. I don't know what that is. Spice, excess, inertia. This is striving. How I hated myself. This is a theme. He hates himself. How I hated myself for remaining so long in that horrible world. How I hated myself, thwarted, poisoned, and tortured myself, made myself old and ugly. Never again, as I once fondly imagined, will I consider that Siddhartha is clever. Again, I think I've talked about it, but there is a song by Bon Iver called Holocene. I'm going to do a bonus video for this. It will involve the song Holocene and also the poem, um, uh, the German poem about spirals. Okay, I will do that in a second video as a break between 8 and 9. Okay, but never again, as I once fondly imagined, will I consider Siddhartha as clever, because he's seen what he actually does. He's not so great, right? But one thing I have done well, which pleases me, which I must praise, I have now put an end to that self-detestation, to that foolish, empty life. I commend you, Siddhartha, that after so many years of folly, you have again had a good idea, that you have accomplished something, that you have heard the bird in your breast sing and follow it. This is what we can praise in ourselves. 1, that we survive. 2, that we grow. But 3, when we fall into error, that we change our lives. It hurts to change. It feels like death. When we do it, we can look and go, I remember doing this, and I will praise this, that I made that change. You can't make these things happen in your life. Life will make them happen as you strive. You will experience these things. And you can praise yourself for making that change. Let's see how much longer we have. I think we can finish this. So he praised himself, was pleased with himself, and listened curiously to his stomach, which rumbled from hunger. He is separate from it. He's watching it like it's from a distance. He felt he had thoroughly tasted and ejected a portion of sorrow, a portion of misery during those past times, that he had consumed them up to a point of despair and death. But all was well. He could have remained much longer with Kamaswami and made and squandered money, fed his body and neglected his soul. He could have dwelt a long time yet in that soft, well-upholstered hell, if this had not happened, this moment of complete hopelessness and despair, and the tense moment when he bent over the flowing water ready to commit suicide. This is so significant. He's looking back at that despair that he almost wanted to kill himself. And he thanks that moment. He says, thank you. Without that, I wouldn't have left my old life. And I wouldn't be experiencing myself once again. At the end of all these things, when you die to yourself, you know who you meet? You don't meet God. You meet you. And you can't make that happen. That can only come through life, and you find out what type of person you are. Life brings it to you. And you find out, did you do it well? He looks back. He could have quit earlier, right? He found out he is a person that goes along with this. But at the end of it, he left it. And he says, I am happy. I'm so happy. For what? I'm going to curse here. To fucking meet himself again. He's meeting himself. And it is a gift. We're going to end here because we're going so long. And I want to end on that. The gift, life brings what seems like demons that are pulling you apart sometimes. Sometimes it can feel like life is tearing you apart. Later, you might find out that those are what you needed in order to reach something. And I say this to myself. I've experienced horrible things in my life that I can't even express or comprehend. And yet I know myself. And I've gone through times where I feel like I have to die to things. You know what I wake up to? Myself. Could I have manufactured that experience? No. Life brings it to you. Almost like there's a God in life or something. I don't know. It's a mystery. And you find out that you have something strong in you. And you're grateful that that pain pushed you out. of that life, and you have something better now. And I want to end on that. Is there anything like this in your life? Maybe you want to tell me, or maybe it's within you. But tell me what you think of this. All right. To me, it's highly significant. I'm very grateful to life, even the horrible things in my life. So, with that said, if you're in a horrible situation because other people are treating you bad, get out of it. Okay. Don't sit and be hurt. Okay. That's not, we don't see Siddhartha sitting and letting people beat on him and stuff, right? That's not what's happening. No, but life does this, and it's like an art. It's hard to explain. We'll end the next time, and then I will, within that, I will go to that song, and I will go to the German poem about spirals, which is one of my favorite. We'll do it in German and in English. All right, I will see you next time.